Hi, everybody, and happy Friday. It is time for another session of our live Heat Press for Profit podcast. We are broadcasting on live here on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. And if you're watching with us, make sure that you tell us who you are, where you're tuning in from, and your business. You know, we love to see where our viewers and our listeners are tuning in from. This podcast is designed to have conversations with apparel decorators just like you and industry experts that can have an impact on your business. I am excited to say we have another returning guest, which is Ty Kain, the owner of Crafted Manufacturing. And he is based in Colorado. And as you can see by the hat he has on, if you're tuning in or watching this, crafted right there. So we are talking about headwear, but really specifically going into the ability of stepping away from embroidery. Now, embroidery is not bad. I want to preface this from the very beginning. Embroidery is not going anywhere. Embroidery is very traditional and it's still a very effective decoration method to offer, whether you are doing accessories, garments, headwear. But there are so many other options out there. And I think Ty can speak on this topic beautifully with the idea that he does patches and emblems. You can see right there is that Ultra Color Max. But it is a full color transfer that isn't a patch or an emblem. So Ty, thank you so much. Give us a little bit of background. You are a manufacturer. So just tell us a little bit about Crafted Manufacturing.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Kelly. Happy to be back again. So yeah, I'm Ty Kain with Crafted Manufacturing. We're in Denver, Colorado, and we've kind of been specializing in headwear for the past 24 months, I would say. Really ever since the pandemic, when it was really hard to source headwear, we saw a need, and we started making our own blanks for hats, and then obviously pairing that up with patches from stalls and emblems and Ultra Color Max and all of that has given us a ton of variety with our customers.
Love it. So simple, right? Like sometimes things don't need to be complicated. And I think that is, something that people should really embrace is if you're successful, it still doesn't need to be complicated, right? Like if you've started a business, it doesn't need to be complicated. So we know that embroidery is a popular decoration method. What has the shift of offering other types of methods? You own how many 360s?
3.
Okay, so if you
Looking to
are
add 4
listening,
and 5.
you're getting ready to did you just add the third one?
We bought 2 last year.
Okay, I was thinking you were adding another one like a couple of months ago when we talked, but the point of this is he owns a 360 cap press. And if you're not quite sure what that is, it is a heat press that has upper and lower heat that allows a decorator to use really thick type of transfers for patches, emblems. So we're talking PVC, we're talking flex style, we're talking sublimated patches, we're talking 3D embroidery. All right. So we're talking a large scope when it comes to selection. So how have customers viewed emblems and patches when you used to offer just really embroidery?
Sure. I mean, yeah, when we first started in 2016, we did only really offer embroidery. The first patch that we offered was PVC, but we were sewing those, and that was in 2017. But yeah, I mean, we just were on a sales call yesterday, and the gentleman was interested in embroidery, and I looked at his art, and I'm like, I don't really see an embroidery play here with his art, and I just kind of told him, hey, we're going to send you 5 flex style samples, maybe in exchange for something, maybe not. He does own a bagel company, but whatever. But yeah, we'll send you these samples. I think that his logo would just be perfect for the ultimate push is for PVC. But we'll send a flex style sample just to kind of reel him in, right? But his first thing he said to me is, what about embroidery? And I was like, okay, well, I think that's a geographical thing in some regards. being on the East Coast or maybe something like that, it's a little bit different. But I just said, hey, the emblems, the patches are going to do your logo justice. Like it's going to be phenomenal. It's going to have dimension. It's going to be super clear. I think the quality, you'll get more money for it at retail. Went through the whole spiel. By the end of it, he was super into it. And then, of course, we can still do an embroidery option, but it's got to be the right logo, right? It's got to be a cool text logo. It can't, have a ton of detail, things like that.
So I want to pause and back up because we had a great little chat just a couple of minutes ago before we went live about artwork. And I think you just briefly touched on it, that you were saying Flex Style would do their logo justice versus going with embroidery. So one thing that you brought up was business logos are not designed specifically to go on apparel. It's, most of the time artists, graphic artists, or whomever's designing it aren't thinking about, oh, this needs to be screen printed. This needs to be cut and weeded by using vinyl, or this needs to be printed. Are we going to match the particular colors if we can get metallic silver or gold? And that right there, I think, is just a testament to seeing a logo and going, how can I make this logo really pop and stand out? So have you come across where there's a lot of times there are logos that you want to steer them away from one particular method simply because it won't provide the quality you want it to?
Yeah, I mean, we just ran into this yesterday, truthfully, with a new client. They had gradients in their text. They're a trucking company, so like it works great for printing, on the side of the truck. It looks great. It's great for stickers. It's great for stationery. It's great for letterhead, right? But, ultimately they did want embroidery with that logo. And it's just like, it can't happen. I mean, there is a machine that exists for it, but none of us can afford it. We've seen it at the trade shows, right? Where it prints on the white thread, right? Super cool. But like I said, none of us can afford it. So ultimately that conversation turned into, it's a print stitch play for me, is what we ended up doing on that. We're going to attempt to embroider for the mixed media look, the bottom of the logo, which has text, but with all those gradients in there, it's a sublimation play altogether. But people don't really design logos thinking, how can it be embroidered? How much will it cost to screen print it? But with Ultracolor Max and screen print transfers, we are in better shape with all of those things. But yeah, it's an oversight for sure, and I don't really understand why.
I think it's like, sometimes new is scary. Sometimes new process is scary. Sometimes increasing prices is scary. And sometimes seeing a more elevated hat that requires a higher cost is intimidating for people to go to their customers and say, hey, I know it's some more money, but you're going to like it so much. And I think really education, like you do with your customers and what a particular product can do for their logo is key, because nobody wants to see their business logo look like poo on something that they're wearing. That's brand representation, and they need it to look crisp and clear.
Well, and ultimately, I think the number one thing I always say in an email back to somebody or in a phone conversation is, we want people to wear it. Yeah. Right. And so like, for the people that say cheap, 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 oftentimes people don't wear those products. Right. And so it's like, let your customers be happy wearing it. They're proud, then they don't always just wear it when they're working. Maybe they wear it on the weekend because they're proud, because it looks good. And, that all comes full circle for companies.
Absolutely. How has, the heat application, you used to outsource for embroidery. How has bringing the heat application in-house, how has that helped your production time? And I would love to hear about going from one press to 3 presses and then wanting to grow to 4 to 5.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, for us, I forgot your first part of your question. I'm sorry.
No, it's cool.
I was already, and then I got excited thinking about presses.
It's like, I know, because you've added and added. How has bringing production in-house when you used to outsource, how has that just changed everything for you?
Yeah, I mean, so I'm happy to share kind of how we do things as a wholesaler. And so, we don't really mess with anything under 100 patches. So we build 100 patches up front. We have at least a 50% margin on those patches. And so they pay for them up front. We like to think of it as a cash flow break for the company. That's kind of how we sell it to people. And then, those patches take 2 to 3 weeks to get in. And seriously, like, I cannot wait until Monday morning or Tuesday morning when the patches come. FedEx, they're here by 10 or 11 a.m. Run them to the office and then just get to work. I mean, it's crazy how fast we can turn an order when we have those extra patches as well, right? So that's part of the sales pitch. It's like, hey, I only need 50 hats. Hey, just buy 100, because if you have a good weekend selling, these retailers, hey, Ty, we sold 25 hats. Can we get 25 more? Yeah, I'll get those done for you 3 business days. Yeah. And because we've got 3 presses, we've got staff to do it. I'll do it myself if I have to, of course. But having the patches, they're all organized, they're all inventoried in the office, and really we just control everything. And I think that's the key, is the quick turnaround times. When you're hiring out embroidery, 2 to 3 week lead time, right? And ultimately, if they have someone who's sick, they can't get it done, they lose power in their shop. There's too many variables, and I really enjoy being able to control our timelines. I feel so much more confident in sharing lead times with people. And then ultimately, okay.
No, the cool thing is, right, you could still offer embroidery. You don't have to just stay in the PVC lane or flex style lane, even leather, right? Like, you can still offer that embroidery, but now instead of giving it to somebody else to control, you have that full control.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's still a couple of embroidery methods that we really like, that are kind of more of a high-end look. And that's kind of what we try to do with embroidery, is look for that high-end trending type way of doing it. But ultimately it's patches, it's PVC, it's flex style, print stitch I've really been enjoying lately. And of course we have new products coming out. We probably can't talk about them yet. And then to touch on your heat press, I don't know. We have 3, right? We have 2 that are doing PVC flex style, same settings for us personally, and then we have a 3rd that we can do transfers with that one. But I think adding a 4th machine, gosh, it pays for itself so quick. And if my employee can run 2 machines and I can run 2 machines, I kind of look at it that way, because right now I kind of just get in his way, because I kind of want to help, but like he doesn't want me there. And so it's like, hey, I'll work on these foamies, but like I could essentially be doing foamies and another run of PVC patches with 2 presses. Super efficient.
That's because with one, for those of you that are not quite sure of the products we're talking about, Patches and Emblems is a product that is offered by stalls.com, and it is this raised, textured, dimensional type of patch. There's a variety of them. So for me to describe all, I don't even know how many are available at the top of my head, but there's at least 6 different styles of flex style. And you really need the upper and the lower heat, and they cook for about 30 seconds. Some of them do have a higher or a longer dwell time. But to give you a perspective, so with one, which Ty started out with, for 30 seconds, you would be waiting for this emblem to be adhered, heat applied onto whatever. And keep in mind that with the 360, it's whatever you can fit on that heating element or under that heating element on top of that platen. So if you want to do a left chest, a bag, a hat, a sleeve, a short. You can do all of that. But in that 30 seconds, now Ty or his team was waiting. So you can prep for the next item, but once you get going, there is really like 10 seconds of prep, right? So then you have another 20 seconds. So with bringing on the second or the second 360, Ty's now able to take that time instead of just having somebody stand or prep for something else. They can now go to the second heat press and utilize that in that time. So it's really this kind of pop, 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 pop mentality versus lock and load, and then you wait and there's a lull. And then what he's saying with his third one that he's incorporated is that he's not using that lower heat, is what I'm understanding. Is that correct?
Yeah, we have it just set for Ultra Color Max, so 290 on the top, 0 on the bottom. 12 to 15 seconds on that machine, or we sometimes run like die block silicone transfers on that one. The settings are different, right? And so, yeah.
So with the lower heat, there's a lot of heat transfer vinyl and material that you actually don't need that lower heat, so you can turn that unit off and just utilize the upper element. So the cool thing is he's got two designated to go to flex style patches and emblems that's got the upper and lower heat going, and he's got another one that runs at a quicker dwell time that is not utilizing the heat. But if for any reason you had to turn that puppy on and use that upper and lower heat, then you have the ability to do so. So what does the fourth and fifth 360 like? What is that going to do for you?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I think the fourth can pair with the third, like I said, just so we could have two operators running two machines. And then I think the fifth, is either maybe like the dedicated event press.
Oh, okay. Cool.
So we do like 6 to 8 events in the summer where we go and do a hat pop up, mostly for craft breweries, some like nonprofits and things like that. But it's always good to have a backup. I mean, Danny Marcario, shout out. Like we've gone through, what the setup looks like. And I was going to these events with one press and he's like, Ty, what happens? Like, what about the what if, right?
Yeah.
And like the machines are so well built, like knock on wood, no issues so far. But like we started to bring a second, we're like, well, we might as well set it up at these events, right? So I think having a fifth is kind of an insurance thing for us. But ultimately, if we had to bring in a third person or a longer dwell time, maybe we're doing like an embroidered patch or something where it just needs a little bit more time. Possibly if we space them correctly, maybe we could run all three with one operator.
Sure. Yeah.
I don't know if my staff would be into that, but we might have to try it,
If there's a will, there's a way. Just make sure you get that on camera.
Yes.
and tag us, because I would love to see somebody working 3 units. I definitely feel like it's possible, especially for those that, only take 10 seconds. I mean, goodness gracious, that's just such creating a flow in production. Yeah. So when you're at these events, do you take a variety of different styles of patches and emblems that the customer has chosen to do more of a, heat print on demand mentality? Or is it kind of one of those that's part of the 100 that they've purchased?
Yeah, sure. So we've learned over time. So we had our first event this summer where the client said that they would do 2 or 3 emblems, different designs, and they kind of backed out last minute and only did one design. Luckily, the one design was phenomenal, but only one choice. People feel like they have to go with it, and you don't sell as much, right? So typically, how our offerings would go is 2 to 3 patch designs. We often recommend a PVC, a flex style, and a faux leather, typically. Okay. Now with print stitch, we can throw those in there. I like the price point of print stitch. for these events as well. But these are the clients' logos. So we take a brewery, we have hopefully 3 different designs. We bring in those patches. Helpful hint: the brewery prepays for those patches.
Mm.
Okay, so we need 3 to 4 weeks to plan these things. So they pay for them because once again, right, we inventory them. We'll bring them to the event, and then at the end of the event, we'll leave them with 24 to 48 hats to sell on site before we leave.
Okay, cool.
We kind of just group it all in, right? So, yeah, I mean, having the variety is great. Pre-sell them, that's great. And then if you have a few extras, you take them back to the office, you inventory them, which is fine. But ultimately, got to have a few choices.
Yeah, people like options.
And then we bring, we stock our own headwear, right? So we've got 3,000 to 4,000 hats in stock at any given time. Not saying I'm super proud of that because cash flow, right?
Right.
But that's where we're at right now, as we're getting into the blank headwear space and wholesaling those options. But we bring 200. I mean, if we have 100 PVC, 50 print stitch, and 50 leather, we'll bring 200 and some hats, 20 different patterns and styles. And, as like dad hats are popular here. I don't know why. Rope hats are popular, 6 panels, foamies, right? So a lot of variety is good.
So I thought that's really interesting that it's leather, PVC, and flex style, that an embroidered patch isn't even really one that I mean, I'm sure it can be, but that's not even a core option that you
Well,
bring for your customers.
yeah, I
Do
mean,
people
so
Go ahead.
I like the idea of a puff
Hmm.
embroidery like that. Remember we were talking earlier, like elevating it just a little bit, but like we said, like not all logos work with it,
Right.
right? Like some of these breweries, they sometimes just throw stuff together too, just like the rest of the world, and it's like that won't look good with embroidery.
I mean, that's such key, right? Because then if you've got a really cool, say either leather or whether it's genuine or faux, and then you've got something like print stitch, which for those of you that do not know what print stitch is, it is the ability to basically print on a type of twill, and then there are stitch details on top of that. So it's almost like a mixed media, but it gives you that full color capability with the print, and then that kind of 3D traditional look with the embroidery. So, having that print stitch is a great option because you're kind of merging both worlds, but keeping that traditional look. But then if you had a logo that was there that was in embroidery because they really insisted on that, but then everybody's buying the other logo, they've already pre-bought that logo. So I'm assuming they would just be stuck and sitting on those hats instead of them turning and moving them as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think when people are stuck on that embroidery idea, print stitch is a natural transition, right? So it's like we're gonna do your logo. We're gonna do great by like sublimating the
Yeah.
part that's hard, right? And then it's like they have a little bit of text on there. Hey, let us throw some embroidery on there, and you just sell it as mixed media, super different. Not a lot of people are doing this, which is true. And then ultimately, they should go for it.
And it's just it's a unique, but it's still kind of hitting home on that traditional, like, I need embroidery. I need this on whatever items. What trends are you seeing? You have a very specific, well, it's not specific, but you have a niche, right, that you target towards. You work with a ton of breweries. But what trends are you seeing, especially out in Colorado, in terms of headwear or decoration methods or patches and emblems?
Yeah, I think the PVC patch. I mean, although we've been doing it for 6, 7 years now, I'm still seeing not a lot of people are doing it, which goes against your trend idea. But ultimately, I still think that PVC is trending, across the U.S. I think it's so elevated. The details that you can achieve are great. Offering glow in the dark, having it be heat applied, all those things. And then as far as the headwear itself, I think the blank hats and um, the style of hats are trending, uh, more patterns, more
Mm,
um, floral for us. Uh,
that's
just
cool.
just does incredible out here at the events. Um, Bright, crazy. Our number one selling hat has been a flamingo pattern hat. Like I don't I don't know. I don't understand. Like, you can kind of keep track of like a particular hat that sells really
Sure.
well. And a lot of people would be like, oh, it's the Richardson 112. It's a foamy trucker. Like I think we've sold like 5 cases of this flamingo rope hat. Like, and every brand just wants it for themselves. We've done dye block silicone on it. We've done PVC patches on it. We've done print stitch. We've done flex style. So it's super versatile. But I think that's kind of where headwear is at. People want their own custom blank for their company, scattered pattern. They want to pick the rope, they want to pick the
Mm,
buckle, all of that. And so that's kind of more of a full custom, obviously. But like, I do
sure.
think that that's kind of what brands are going after as far as the uniqueness.
Well, I mean, if it's a particular brand and they are very key on their branding, then it only makes sense for them to want to, merge the two and continue that branding look within whatever they have on, whether it is a garment or if it is a hat. Now I did see a question just really quick that was earlier.
Thanks, Brandy.
Brandy said that she loves his foamies. Where did it go? Somebody had asked if you do hats only or shirts too.
Oh, specific question for me.
Yep.
Okay. Um, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'd say we're 90% headwear. I didn't choose that path. I feel like it chose me. Um, and then, we do quite a bit of contracting out for screen print. But lately we've been doing a ton more of Ultracolor Max and screen print transfers from Transfer Express. Feeling more and more confident offering those items. And that's not a we don't want to work with stalls thing. That's just time and
Hmm.
resources and money, and just when it makes sense, we want to do it, and when it doesn't, we don't do it. So I think as we grow more comfortable with it, we'll continue to do more shirts in house.
Sure.
But ultimately, we are 90% headwear, and we are wholesale decorators. Um, we sell to the people so they can make all the money.
You sell to the people and you sell to the other people. Like,
And filing sales tax is the worst.
oh,
So, right? So there are some benefits to that.
I agree with that one. That's got to be nice. Ooh, Frank had a great question. What are your thoughts of the Richardson 112?
I mean, maybe the best selling hat of all time, right? So I think that a lot of people are trying to not knock it off, just create a similar to equal product. We have our own version of the 112 as well, and I feel like we've done some really nice things with it. But gosh, it's such a popular hat. It's crazy. I don't know that there'll ever be a more popular hat.
It's funny how one thing can just like like just fly. It's really kind of crazy how people can grasp onto something, and it's really all about the right time, the right market, the right moment. And I think things can just really really skyrocket, and sometimes it's on things that you just would have never
Yeah.
um, guessed, right?
I do challenge people though, like really try and get your customers open to competitors brand, right? Like
Mhm.
I think if you can, this comes with time and experience and all of that as well, and trust with your clients. But like the 112, yes, but like there was times where you couldn't get it. And
Yeah.
so the Yupong 6606 has been great to us. And I think ultimately I try it on. I have such a huge head and weird head. Like I'm the tester of it, right? So like I try it on and I'm like, yeah, this fits just like the 112, right? And so selling that to your customers, ultimately they should trust you that they don't have to have a 112. Um, I think Outdoor Cat makes a similar one, OC771, as well as a great trucker hat option. But like, there's three major players in that game, and it's like just because it doesn't say 112 doesn't mean you're not going to like it, right? So
Sure.
be open to something super similar and probably cheaper.
On so many different levels. Does that statement
Yeah, yeah.
ring true? And then in terms of application, on the 360 with a heat press, is there anything that you kind of notice with headwear that you have to pay attention to as you're decorating it? Sensitive materials, foamies can be a little interesting.
Yeah, I think gosh, I know that we don't always have time for, trial and error and those things. I oftentimes when I talk about my first press, I think I ruined like 50 hats. And I was like, man, this is 250 to $300 just down the drain. And I think I still have those hats, which
Yeah,
is probably not good. But we still mess up hats here and there, right? I mean, maybe it's one out of 1,000 instead of
sure.
every other one when you first start out. But um, yeah, I think 112s pressed differently from 6606, and foamies pressed different from rope hats. I think the Grandpa Pinch from Richardson is one of our most challenging hat. It's the 256 is the style number, and it's a 5 panel front. It creases. I tell you what, it creases on me more times than not.
Hmm.
My staff is better at it than me, and I don't like that. But yeah,
That
I
should
think
be a huge compliment.
right. Yeah, I'm like, hey, can you give me a little lesson? I know that I trained you, but ultimately, I need you to retrain me on how come your rope hats look phenomenal, because we sell a ton of rope hats. But yeah, I think each hat's unique. I think eventually your mental memory, right? But when in doubt, write it on the whiteboard and just keep notes, and we still have notes on the whiteboard for die block silicone. We just bought a plotter, which I'm excited for.
That'd be great.
We'll be doing more and more die block, but it's like, what are those settings again? And like, it's okay if the settings are a little different from how Stalls recommends it. Do what works for you. Ask for help in the Heat Press for Profit group.
Yeah, for sure. So let's quickly touch on that. Guys, the Heat Press for Profit group on Facebook is a community that you can join of heat decorators, other apparel decorators. I don't want to just say apparel, but garment decorators in general. And Skip, Eric, and Ty both continuously, constantly post in there about headwear that they have been working on, what they're doing, logos, materials they're playing with, trials, success. So, we've had all three of those, or actually, Skip is going to be on our channel in a couple of weeks, but they've all had the experience. And while they all three decorate on headwear, they also have different types of customers that they go after and different products that they work with. So it's really important to kind of get a wide scope of understanding other different types of methods other than just patches and emblems as well, because heat transfer vinyl still exist. Direct to film like Ultra Color Max is, becoming more and more popular. And of course, your screen printed transfers are still very, very much there for headwear as well. Ty, thank you so much for taking time yet again to join me as the guest on our channel. Tell everybody how they can find you, how they can follow you, or reach out to grab some headwear.
Sure. Yeah. We're on Instagram and Facebook at CraftedMFG. You can go to the website. It's a work in progress. I'm not ashamed to say that. But yeah, also on Heat Press for Profit, we share a lot. We don't share everything, but we share a lot. And so happy to help through there. I've met some friends through going to trade shows, and actually just jumped on the phone with someone out in California yesterday to help troubleshoot something that they had going on. So if I'm available and I can help, I'm happy to do it.
Awesome. Thank you so much again. Guys, have a fantastic weekend, a great Friday, and we will see you next Friday. So thanks for tuning in and see you later.
Thank you.